Just a few miles outside the small town of Vernon, Florida, deep within the Panhandle, stands the Moss Hill United Methodist Church. There's a lot of history here. Welcome, friends. I'm glad you're here. In 1857, construction of the Moss Hill Methodist Church was complete, thanks to a lot of hard work of slave labor. This building is open to the public. It doesn't have electricity. It's kerosene lit. And so there's some other very cool things about this little property outside the small town of Vernon, Florida. Wow. This is so cool. It's just open for anybody to come in and check out. And yes, in fact, it's just kerosene lamps, a couple hanging from the ceiling. I before mentioned that there were some very unique things about this church. It was the second structure in Washington County to have glass window panes installed ever. This is also the oldest building in Washington County. I'm not sure what the first oldest is. What else makes this very unique is the pine heartwood that was used in construction, or pit littered, I believe is what the local term for that type of wood is. It was very sappy, and when the slaves were building the structure, the handprints and footprints were left on the wood all through this building, all the way back from 1857, the early 50s. And you can see up here in the ceiling those handprints all over the ceiling. They're everywhere. You can see one right there. So walk around. There are lots of markings of those hard workers built this building. As I'm looking around for handprints and imagining what it was like to attend church here many years ago, I've noticed that they're very trustworthy. They have a lot of their equipment sitting out. There's some sound equipment, a guitar down here on the ground. Right by the guest book, they have an offering plate with money in it, a $20 bill. Wow. I was just curious. It's a pretty nice bass guitar there. Cool. Have some things written on the piano bench here. Some old information. Very cool. Old cross. Wonder how long that's been there. This cool organ here. Oh, pump organ. No. I don't know how this works. It's cool. They have a padded altar here. It's a nice little church. This reminds me a lot of the church that I grew up in London, Ohio. These fans here. They got their hymnals and Bibles and such. The Good News Bible down here. This is great. These hymnals are really old too, it looks like. Cool. Wow. 1938. I'm still amazed that you can see these handprints so clearly. How cool. You can see right through the floor in most places here in the church, right down to the ground. The ceiling has sort of a bow to it too. And I don't notice any access to the attic space, but you can see through the cracks that there's something going on up there, but no access. Surely over the years, the pews were rebuilt. Maybe not, but it is still cool to think about all the history that happened in here. I think the window panes have been replaced. They don't look very old for being the second building to ever have window panes installed in this county. But again, so much history right here in this building. Can you imagine all of the things that happened in this room, the celebrations and the sorrows and the community gatherings, and what a cool place. Very peaceful. Really old sign protected behind plexiglass here. Pine heartwood becomes impervious to critters like termites and such after this amount of time. Just makes it impossible for those little bugs to destroy this or enjoy it, which is a really nice feature in an old building that's protected now, because it'll probably be here for a much longer time than what it has been, or let's hope it does. It's not just the Moss Hill Church that holds a lot of history. It's the graveyard next door. It's very historical as well. This historical marker talks about the early settlers to this area in the 1800s. It came when we were still owned by Spain. It's a long time ago. Very interesting. Of the hundreds of graves in here of the early settlers of Washington County, and I'm sure many members of the Methodist Church, there's one particular gravesite that I'm looking for in here. These look a little too new. It's an interesting name. Thomas Florida Russ. Huh. Florida Volunteers, Indian Wars. Wow, it's a long time ago. Many Confederate soldiers from the area are buried in this cemetery. There's one Confederate soldier that outlasted all of his war heroes. That soldier's name was Alexander Stewart. Born June 26, 1838, died July 5th, 1963. Alexander was part of Company H in the 4th Florida Infantry. As a Confederate soldier, he died at age 125. That means that he not only experienced the Civil War, but he experienced the birth of the automobile, fast food, almost experienced landing on the moon. It seems just crazy to me that someone in their lifetime could experience all the things that that person did. It's amazing. 125 years old. Nice work, Alexander Stewart. Thank you for everything you did. You had a lot of time to do things. I'm sure you did some good things. I hope you did some good things. I'm sure you did. Thanks. As you walk around, you can see other Confederate flags next to grave markers, and a large Confederate flag, signifying that it is a Confederate cemetery. Noticing this family lost 2 of their members just 2 months apart, back in 2019. I found another interesting gravesite over here, with something that's inspired me to tell you that when I pass away from this beautiful earth, I would like you to do something like this for me if you ever decide to visit my grave. Leave me a beer. Maybe pour one out right on top of my grave. It's not going to do him any good there in the can. Yeah. Just dump it down there. Or her. Whoever you are. That loved fishing, kitty cats, and wicked weed beer. Rest in peace. Here's a cool grave marker with a photo. I like that. It's really cool to see a photo of the person that is to be remembered. I like that. I'm walking through this graveyard and thinking about all the people and the memories and accomplishments that people have had and experienced over their lifetimes. All of us are going to land here, or in a small box if you get cremated, whatever. It really makes a difference how you spend your days. You could be a good influence, you could be a poor influence. I suggest, encourage you to come out to a cemetery yourself, explore, think about these things, help it inspire you to maybe be a better person or a more consistent person, whatever it is. Maybe just reflect on how you're already awesome, because you are. I know you are. Mr. and Mrs. Tiller Died August 24th and September 30th, 1959. That's two couples in this cemetery that I've seen that died about a month apart from each other. You hear about that happening sometimes. I've known a couple people in my life that died very close in proximity to each other. It's hard not to think about the deep love that you would have for another person to experience a broken heart so hard that you give up the will to live somehow, or however that works. I don't know. Wow, that's heavy stuff. Well, this property, church and cemetery, been included in the National Register of Historic Places. Out back here's a washing station and a big long table, I'm sure for church events and such. Look at these old style bricks used around the foundation. Wow. In case you're wondering, this is the United Methodist Church historic site number 119. There's this other side building over here. Let's see what this is. This is definitely a newer structure. It's probably locked. Yeah. This is the restroom. The windows are open in the back, and yep, girls and boys, it says. I'm really shocked that the restrooms and the church building and really none of the grave sites are vandalized at all. There's no markings anywhere. It's been very well respected. And for being a building that's completely open to the public, you can just walk right in. This is very cool. We're pretty far out in Florida. Vernon, Florida is about an hour and a half away from Tallahassee towards Mississippi. So we're out here. Very small communities around, but pretty cool. It's been respected so well. Friends, thanks for joining me today in Vernon, Florida at the Moss Hill Methodist Church. This has been a really cool adventure. I will see you in the next video.